Alright, what is up guys? This is Joseph Seeger doing a Frightfur deck profile for the August 2015 format with one Fluffle support coming out of Clash of Rebellions. I am siding one. I need two more and thinking about testing it in this deck. But I'm awaiting for November support to come out in Dimension of Chaos, which will take this deck a little bit farther than what it could go. But in other words, let's get started with the deck profile, shall we? Alrighty. Let's go. We started off with 3 Fluffle Dogs, the main generic Fluffle of the deck, because it is our searcher for any Fluffles and the one Edge Sabers that we need from the deck, whether it's normal or special summoned, which is pretty good. So let's say I can't get into my fusion plays, you go for Dog, and you go for this guy, which I'll explain more about him. But yeah, plus Dog is a level 4 with 1700 attack points. I say that's pretty darn good for a Fluffle. Second generic staple of the deck is 2 Fluffle Owls. Now this is the polymerization searcher, plus he's a polymerization in his own form. Now with him I can pay 500 life points to fusion summon 1 Frightfur fusion monster from my extra deck, using monsters from my hand or my side of the field. Can only use its effect once per turn. So yeah, a lot of hands were a little bit slow to start, but I'd always pull Dog, so Dog would go into Owl, Owl would go into polymerization. But we don't run polymerization, I'll explain more once we get to that segment. But yeah. Next we run the 3 Fluffle Sheep. I had it at 1 in my previous builds. I had 3 or 4 different versions, and I used to run 1 because I thought it was too clocky. But then I saw I wasn't seeing enough plays with it. I would only use it once, it would get dumped into the graveyard, you'd never see it again. So I run it by 3, plus I have, I think, 1 rabbit in this deck to get 1 of these back, so yeah. But his ability to special summon bounce, I like to bounce either an Owl or a Dog back so I can use their effect yet again. So yeah, they're pretty good for the deck, and special summon Edge Imps from hand or graveyard. So that's pretty darn good. Next we run 2 Fluffle Bears. Its second effect I rarely use. I've only used it like once or twice when I really needed the fusion summon, but I mainly use it for ditching it to get a toy vendor set. I never used to run toy vendor, so I'll explain that once we get to it. Next, we have 2 Fluffle Cats. Pretty much my polymerization get back from my grave. So, yeah, I kind of needed a couple more fill-up spots with Fluffles, so I put in 2 Fluffle Cats. And, of course, the 1 Fluffle Rabbit to get back any Fluffles or the 1 Edge Imp Sabers from my graveyard. I'll use the effect of the Fluffle Rabbit once per turn. Moving on to the Edge Imps, scary cards. We run the generic staple for Edge Imps is Edge Imp Sabers. I plan on bumping it up to 2 to take out a Tomahawker, possibly take out 1 cat, I don't know, but for right now we run it at 1, but it's pretty much good. I mean, same attack and defense as Bear, but I don't really use it for that. I use it for special summoning, fusion summoning. I don't banish it right away unless I'm going for Frightfur Tiger and I'm going for game. I run the 1 Edge Imp Saw. Used to run it by 2 or 3, but I used to run it off of the draw power because I had a speed Fluffle deck, and that didn't really go well after a month of using it, so I dropped it down to 1 so I can add more Fluffles into it, and I rarely use its effect to do the draw power and place a card on top or bottom, so I'm going to play it place a card back into my deck, I'm most likely going to put it on the bottom because it's either bad or I don't need it at that moment. But yeah, we usually pitch it out of the deck with Tomahawk. Anyways, we run 2 Edge Imp chains. I used to run it at 3, but needed to put more fluffles. I used to run an even amount, 9 fluffles and 9 Edge Imps, which was pretty bad. So now I dropped it down to 6 Edge Imps and 13 fluffles, which makes the deck extremely better. I'm never going to use its effect to declare an attack and add another chain because I only run 2. I'm mostly going to like pitch them out of the deck. If I can, special summon them with a sheep effect. Go into a polymerization or an owl. Get my Frightfur cards out of the deck. But yeah, and with 1800 defense points, it's a pretty good blocker in my retrospect. But a lot of cards these days can special summon and run it over. Next we have the second beat stick of the deck. 2 Edge Imp Tomahawks. Now, I'm rarely going to use its effect to deal 800 points of damage. If I do, I'm either ditching a chain or I'm ditching a sabers. I would never ditch a saw. I mainly use its second effect to flush all my Edge Imps out of the graveyard, or no, out of the deck into the graveyard, like sabers or saw. Because I'm mainly going to use saw probably like once or twice, which I probably should drop Leo down to 1, but I'll think of something for that. But yeah, 2 Tomahawks. I probably plan on taking out 1 for another sabers. We'll see where that goes. Moving on to the spells, we have fusion substitutes, 3 of them. Now, card name is always treated as polymerization, so I can get around that loophole with Fluffle Owl. And its second effect is pretty good in my offense. I mean, I can banish it from my graveyard, target 1 fusion monster in my graveyard, return it to the extra deck, then draw 1 card. I like a little bit of draw power because it gives me more of a chance, and that's just pretty darn good in my offense. So I run fusion substitutes instead of polys. Next we have 2 Frightfur fusions. Now this is probably one of the 2 main cards I'm going to get out. I only run 2 Frightfur cards, so this is going to be one of the main cards I get out with Chain for right now. But yeah, banish monsters from my side of the field or graveyard to special summon a Frightfur fusion monster from my extra deck. Pretty self-explanatory. It's like Miracle Fusion for heroes. 2 Frightfur factories. I used to run it by 3 and then dropped it down to nothing because I used to fusion summon too much, and then after I fusion summoned too much, a month later, I didn't really do so good. So we brought Frightfur factory back to 2. Plus, if I banish my Frightfur fusions, I can get them back by just destroying these or sending them to the graveyard. Next, we have the 2 toy vendors. Now, story behind this, I never used to run these because I thought they were bad. Discard a card and draw 1 card. Reveal it. If it is a Fluffle monster, you can special summon it. If not, discard the card you drew. Oh, wait. You can special summon... Oh, whoa, okay. Now I just learned another effect. Slow learner. But yeah, pretty much pitch a lot of monsters, pitch my Edge Imps into the grave and stuff. And these get sent to the graveyard, add a Fluffler or an Edge Imp monster from my deck to my hand. Pretty good. For generic deck staples for spell cards, we have 2 MSTs, the 1 Dark Hole, and the 1 Regeki. Now, I used to run 20 monsters until I turned it down to 19, which was 2 Fluffle Rabbits, but I turned it down to 1 to run this guy, because Regeki is good, Dark Hole is good, MSTs stop anything from stopping my Tiger from hitting the field. Next for traps. Rerun 2D prisons now because there's a lot of permanent problems these days that can't be destroyed by card effects or can't be destroyed by battle, and it's hard to run over, so we run the 2D prisons for those certain type of cards. And I really don't like those cards, like Beals or... just cards that can't be destroyed by card effects. Next, rerun 2 Mirror Force, because this comes as a surprise to a lot of people when you flip it over. Flipping over this is just like surprising your opponent, and it catches them off guard. So yeah, we run it by 2. Alongside that, we run the 1 Royal Decree, because I'm rarely getting into trap plays until Frightfur March comes out. We run this because I ran into a lot of traps the first time going back into a tournament after 3 years out of play, and I did not see that coming, so we run the 1 Royal Decree to stop all those. Next, for generic trap staples, we already know them all. Solemn Warning, Compulsory Evacuation Device, and Bottomless Trap Hole, yada yada. We already know the generic deck staples for traps. We weren't born yesterday. Now, moving on to the extra deck, we have the 1 Frightfur Tiger, the main card of the deck, the main winning generic staple, because using fusion material monsters, I can destroy a number of cards on the field, and with its power boost, it's pretty darn good. Alright. Moving on from Tiger, we have 2 Frightfur Wolves to go into a Tiger-Wolf combo. Pretty much uses Edgemp Sabers, but I go into Wolf first, sending Sabers to the graveyard. Then I go into Tiger, banishing a lot of my cards from the graveyard. Plus, with Tiger's power boost ability, it powers all my Frightfur monsters by 300 attack for each Fluffle and Frightfur monster I control. Plus, I can only control 1 Frightfur Tiger, that's why I run it by 1, but these go with the generic Tiger combo because you destroy his back row, you destroy some of his monsters, this can attack up to a number of times for however many fusion materials you used for it. So you use 3 to obviously kill his whole field, attack for game, done. And you win! Next, rerun 2 Frightfur Leos. Now, I used to run it by 3. It made the extra deck clocky, plus I'm using... So I took out 1 because I'm doing a test experiment with this guy, but I'll talk about him later. Anyways, Frightfur Leo's effect. A lot of people pull him. I don't really have to say anything. Destroy a face-up monster my opponent controls. He takes damage equal to its original attack. He can't attack directly, but he can attack monsters if there's still some. So you destroy the big guy and then you go after the weaker guys. It's pretty darn good. 3 Frightfur Sheeps. Now, I plan on dropping this down to 2, and I plan on dropping Leo down to 1 for the new support coming out in November. But yeah, we run 3 Sheeps for right now. Armades in its own form. Plus, whenever it's destroyed by battle or by my opponent's card effect, I can bring it back from the graveyard and give it an 800 point power boost. So I say that's pretty darn good. I like that. We rarely bring this out because we're not really going into like overload kill or like get rid of your game winner to go for a stupid card, which we're probably going to bring it out with the trap support that we're getting out in November. But we have the 2 Frightfur Chimeras. Now, I've seen play once or twice He's an Armades and a Goyo in his own form. We all know Goyo's effect, but when it's special summoned, it's the special summon monster's attack is cut in half, and I can only use this effect once per turn, obviously, because he can only attack once per turn. But this card gains 300 attack for each monster you control that is owned by your opponent. So the most he can gain is 1,200, would bring him to 4,000. But if you have all your generic stuff, like let's say you got tiger, wolf, sheep, and a chimera, and you got that one open spot, like he's already gaining 1,200 attack for those. So that's pretty darn good. I like it. Next, our test subject, Frightfur Bear. Now, I read about him. I think he's an iffy card. I mean, when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, okay, it's a chimera effect, but it equips to Frightfur Bear with the effect the equipped monster gains 1,000 attack. So the most he can gain is 5,000, but that would make the spell and trap card zone too clocky. I'd probably want like 1 or 2 equipped cards on him at all costs. But yeah. It's a nice beat stick. Moving on to the Exceeds, we have the 1 Leviair because we are going to be banishing a lot, and I would like to get my Edgemp Sabers out from being banished. Because I only run the 1, but if I'm going to banish it, I might as well go for Tiger and go for game. We all know that subject, but I might bump Sabers up to 2, so we'll see what we do there. Next, for our rank 4s, we have the number 101 Silent Honor Arc. Yes, it is ulti. No, it is not first edition. Don't care about rarity. We have Carnagon. We have Heartland Draco. Now, these are my generic rank 4s until I get something better like, I don't know, Dark Rebellion, XYZ Dragon, and Castel, which will probably take place for Heartland Draco, and possibly Honor Arc. But Honor Arc is in here because there's a lot of special summon monsters that my opponent will have, like Dante or something, but normally he'll attack with Dante, so it has to be like Beals or something else. But yeah, it takes one of his attack position special summon monsters, which makes it all more fun for me. Carnagon, because a lot of cards target exactly one, so I run the Carnagon for safe measures. And Heartland Draco, I picked this up like a few days ago, or probably I think last week actually. Can attack your opponent directly. Other monsters cannot attack. Plus, if I have face-up spell cards, which Frightfur Factory and Toy Vendor, he can't be targeted for attacks, so makes it all the more better. But yeah, as soon as I get a few more rank 4s, which are probably better than what I have now, I'll probably run them. Which I'll probably drop a wolf down to 1, drop a sheep down to either 2 or 1, and then drop a Leo down to 1. But we'll see, we'll see. Anyways, that was my deck profile. It's all out of order, I know. But Joseph Seeger, signing out.